Hello and welcome back to the What the Falk Sunderland review show. A sterling second half display ensured that it was a cracking weekend for all on Wearside, and Michael Beale Sunderland racked up back-to-back home wins with another victory over Plymouth Argyle at the Stadium of Light. As always, we're going to be here to go through it, and it's always an absolute delight when we've won and played as well as we did today. So first and foremost, I've got Brad to join me. Brad, how are you doing, chap? You okay?
Yeah, good mate. It's always nice coming on when we've won. Saying that's the only time I ever do come on, like so.
No comment.
Um, yeah, really good. Apart from I'm glad this is a audio, not a visual. 'Cause I am hanging out my ass here. It was a struggle going that game today, but the second half was well worth it.
I think if to be fair, if this was at any point a video podcast, this episode would be an audio one. I'll be honest. Brad is looking incredibly rough. One man who isn't looking quite as rough is Lee. Lee, how are you, mate? You okay?
I'm all right, mate. I'm always better when Sunderland pick up 3 points, as I'm sure every Sunderland supporter is. Decent weekend. Very, very decent weekend.
Good hangover cure, isn't it? Even if you're
It
not
is.
hungover, I don't know if you are. Might be.
No, I'm not. No. But
Disappointing.
normally is when Sunderland pick up 3 points. It's normally a good hangover cure.
Yeah, I should have asked that question tomorrow, shouldn't I? Brad, I'll come to you first, but 3-1 win. A really good win. We'll dig into the bolts of it, the bones of it, a little bit more. But I think ultimately a really good win. We're speaking at just before 10 o'clock on the night of the match. How are you feeling in the aftermath of it?
Yeah, really good. I mean, I think Beale touched on it in his interview. He's summed it up perfectly. Um, wasn't the best first half, but I think a few people maybe got carried away about the first half because we went in a goal down, which was a very sloppy goal. But I didn't think we were that bad. But I mean, second half it was just like a completely different team, and that was great to see. That man again in it is just there's levels to this game, and he's above the level we're at. And I don't buy this thing where people say, "Oh, where would we be without Jack Clark?" Well, we've got him. He's here, so we are where we are because we've got Jack Clark. But no, it was excellent, and I think that's the first time I've seen in a while where all three goals were excellent, like really, really good finishes. So yeah, and another game where there's been three different goal scorers, which is it's like I think Beale said it. It was sharing. It looks like they're sharing the workload on the goals, and that's a positive because they come from all over, and we're not overly reliant on Clark getting every single goal. So I'm feeling quite positive after that.
Last time we scored 3 goals of that level of quality, I want to say was 2013, and it might have been at St James's Park. Lee, I think Brad's touching it really well there, mate. But how are you feeling after it? Because I think it was a really good day for Sunderland today.
Yeah, just to echo what Brad said, really. First half was a bit dull. Not gonna lie, it was a bit dull, and obviously going in 1-0 down didn't affect them. Like it affected the mood a little bit around the place, but got to credit Michael Beale for his half-time team talks. As we said, we came out a totally different team, pressing with intensity, which we weren't doing in the first half. Moving the ball with intent, which again, and at pace, which again we weren't doing in the first half, and we just tore Plymouth apart really in that second half. As you say, 3 quality goals, 3 well-worked quality goals, and yeah, 3 points. Nothing on another day could have been a little bit more if we were a bit more ruthless in the final third.
I wanted to say that actually because we were just talking about it there on the train back. Obviously, I've just got back in the house, but I think that's our fourth game we've won at home, 3-1. I think we beat Birmingham, Norwich, Stoke, and now we've also beaten Plymouth 3-1. So it's four 3-1 wins at home. But I think as much as we played well in those games I mentioned before, and they've come at very different parts of the season, Lee, I think I agree with you on that. It did feel like if we really not that we were like sitting back, but if we really continued at the pace we were playing at, I felt like we could have put about 4 or 5 past them today if we really, really fancied it. And I think that's a testament to how well we managed the game that, we were controlling it, weren't we, second half?
Yeah, definitely. I'm saying once we got the third, like literally that 20-minute period blew them away. Didn't We had a few half chances, but it wasn't really any clear cut ones. But I'm saying, yeah, if we wanted to, we could have went and scored 4 or 5 really easily. Because even though Plymouth are a decent passing side, defensively they looked a bit shoddy.
Hmm.
And you can tell why at the bottom end of the league, yeah, they've got quality players like Whittaker and etc. But they don't look that good at the back. And I think if we wanted to, we could have scored 5 or 6, but it wasn't needed in the end.
Do you know who was playing at the back for them today? And I don't think anyone really noticed. Brendan Galloway.
I did in the first half. I literally go to the lad sat where stood next to us again. That's Brendan Galloway at left back for them. I think he played twice for us and he got replaced by Jay Clark-Salter, which really sums up his Sunderland career, really, doesn't it?
Oh, I don't want to bring any downers on this, but I've seen him play with St Johnstone, and he might have been. And you know what? I'm not saying he might have been. He is the worst left back I've ever seen in my life. He sticks out my head because I just couldn't abide him at all. But let's forget the bad times. There's only positives, Brad. I did feel we were flat first half, and I did say as much. I didn't think we were bad per se. I kind of was struggling to see what the style was. I felt it was a bit sluggish and a little bit bland. Um, but look, when you're talking at half time about it not being a very good performance or being bland or you want a bit more, and then they do produce it. That's literally all you've been asking for. But how often does that happen when you go, God, we need to do something a little bit different this second half? And I felt like I couldn't have scripted if I'd wrote down my perfect second half. I couldn't have scripted how good the second half went. We're touching it a bit, but just how impressive was that second half, Brad? Because for me, that's the best we've played under Michael Beale.
Yeah, definitely for me. I don't know if the second half, I don't know if it was just me watching it through hungover eyes, but it seems like he maybe pushed Bar a little bit further on to support Roosen a little bit more, as instead of playing in the hole behind him.
He did.
It's as
The
if
position changed 100% because Barr was not in the 10 second half.
yeah, it looked like he was more pushed alongside Roosen because, I mean, for a little lad, Roosen hasn't half got a spring on him. So I think he's maybe being told, go and play off him. And if you win something, you're in. And it seemed like that worked a lot better. And that also allowed us to get a little bit more width, and we used our wingers a lot more in the second half by taking out that 10 and trying to play it through like we usually do. So, no, it was a very good tactical switch. And I think the subs, credit as well, they came on at the right time. I think it was like 63, 64 minutes, which is enough time for usually enough time for subs to impact the game. I mean, it only took Job maybe a minute and a half to impact it, but I mean, what a way for him to. Everyone's been saying about needing a break. Yes, he has needed a break, but then for him to have that little first half break, 60-minute break, then come on and put in a performance like he'd done, it sort of like makes you think, hang on, that's hurting him. That he's had a little bit of a dip, and he's got a point to prove. So, no, I thought to a man, second half, I couldn't really fault anyone. I mean, best player on the pitch today was, I'm sure we'll come on, it was Dan Neil.
Oh, mate.
I arguably would say that's his best performance in the Sunderland shirt. He was winning the ball back every single time, and his little pirouettes, and just getting us on the front foot. And I don't know if that's a tactical thing as well, where he's just being told, get on the ball and drive us forward instead of looking for the little short 1-2 passes. He was just driving us at every opportunity. And yeah, I think that was his best game. But yeah, I mean, from every player on the pitch, the fans second half, we fed off that energy, and the atmosphere in the ground went up a little bit more. And to the changes from the coaching team, everything was just absolutely spot on. You're right; it was by far the best performance under Michael Beale for me.
Yeah, like without a shadow of a doubt, that was it's really good how well we performed. I don't think we were like awful first half. I thought we were bland and lacked a bit of structure, but like it fixed but it fixed so well. That for me, that's massive. That says an awful lot because I thought Stoke was good, and we said about Stoke that needed to be the blueprint. And I thought today was better. And I thought we were the better side against Borough first half last week. Yeah, look, we weren't great second half, but we dug in and got the point. We're going to come on to like players specifically that we want to discuss and pick one out, but I want to pick someone out sort of randomly because I don't think he's going to get that much headlines, Lee, to be honest, because Job scored a goal that was outstanding. Jack Clark, I mean, we'll come on to him later on, but my God, Like the bloke's just far too good for this level. Far, far too good. But I thought Rusin worked his absolute socks off today. Potentially his socks and his bollocks at the same time. Extra work, Lee, but we've talked about a striker that can score goals. He's got two now. Talked about a striker that can also like run the channels, drag defenders about a bit. I thought throughout the game first half, his work rate and his running of the channels really give us an extra dimension. And today was the first time in ages where I didn't go, oh, we're just missing a striker. I thought the striker did his job today without needing to score. How good was Rusin today, and how handy was he?
I thought he was fantastic, really. As you say, if your striker's not scoring, what you want them to do is occupy defenders to create space for everybody else, and he did that in abundance today. And I think he always has done it when he started. I think, but the thing that held him back a little bit was because we're waiting that long for a striker to score. It went a bit unnoticed, especially when you're not like other areas of the pitch not scoring. But I always say myself as well. Yes, your striker is based on how many goals he scores ultimately at the end of the season. But it's the little things that go unnoticed, like when he, as you're saying, occupying defenders, running in behind, just to give centre backs something to think about is the main thing. And obviously, I know he's the most experienced out of the three we've got, but he is the best out of the three we've got. And he needs, like, between now and the remaining of the season, he has to start every game. And that's no, I'm not trying to dig out Burstow or Hermia, but the way we play it and the way it suits, he has to start every single game for the end of the season. I'm a bit disappointed he got took off, because I thought as the game gone on and Plymouth tired, I thought there might have been a goal in for him, especially like for how much he literally ran ragged their defence. I thought, oh, there might be like a 90th minute goal where Plymouth just switch off and he ends up getting in, and that's like back-to-back games he scored in. But obviously it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, I thought he was excellent today, Rosen. And as Brad said, for a little lad, he's got one hell of a leap on him. He's got one hell of a leap on him.
I just think he works for everything. I think we talked on him last week because he scored the goal and stuff, and I really didn't want him not to get the credit today because I thought he was even better today. It just didn't have the goal, but like I don't think he needed it today. Like he worked really hard, and I just think the more I watch Rusin, the more I just feel he's the kind of player that's going to work for Sunderland. I think the goals will come. I think he'll get a job there. But Brad, we've touched on Dan Neil. I don't know what he can say more about Dan Neil. For me, Clark is going to get the headlines, and people are going to say he's the best player in the league and stuff like that. But I don't take anything away from Clark because I absolutely love him. I think he's a tremendous talent, and God, I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to watch him because he is that good. But if we're talking about Jack Clark, Dan Neil today, I mean, it's not a one-off either, this. I mean, I don't really know what more I can say about Daniel. He's just absolutely class, any Brad.
Outstanding, mate. And it's getting to the stage now where I'm worried for the summer. Everyone talks about we don't go up, we lose the likes of Jack Clark. I think Dan Neil will just be as big a blow to lose, and there'll be clubs all over him because he is that good. Yeah, I think, like I said it just 5 minutes ago, that was his best performance in a Sunderland shirt. I think that I don't know if second half he was just given the freedom of just be a centre midfielder. You don't have to hold, you can drive on as well. It was just literally, he was everywhere. Yeah, I mean, when was the last time we had a centre midfielder that we had this much belief in, this much confidence in? Because it's a heck of a long time. I know you can talk about Corey Evans and his experience and things, but for me, Dan Neil has got the full package, and is he 21, 22?
22, I think, but he's just, I mean,
it's frightening. Like, he's playing like a 27, 28, 29-year-old with 300 games behind him.
What's he not good at?
Shooting with his left foot.
Aye.
And when he done that, I actually said to his dad, every time when he does that and he misses, does he pull his shorts all the way up? It's just one of them things, son. But yeah, I mean, that also comes, he doesn't take that shot on in previous weeks without the confidence that he started to build. he'd have maybe took a touch, knocked it out wide. But I think the whole team are playing with like, a little bit of swagger, a little bit of confidence. I mean, the goals that we scored today came from great finishes where sometimes they've got in them positions then laid it off to someone else. They're all having a pop now. Then you talk about Wilson's goal last week. He's had a strike from distance. It's just the confidence in the team has gone up, and as a result, we're seeing the best of Dan Neil. And if we keep seeing that level of performance, because with Dan Neil, it's consistency, and we're seeing that now. We've always known he's had it in him, but in previous seasons, or even the start of this season, it was maybe he had 3 good ones and one you're like, But that could also come with he was playing out of position, or we were struggling. We were flat on numbers. So once the team's building that confidence, we're just seeing pure consistency from Dan Neil. And I worry now, as much as like teams coming in for Jack Clark, that we can't hold on to him in the summer if we don't go up. Because he's that good.
You cannot look at Daniel's performance today and not tell me that he's on the verge of being Premier League ready. You just can't. Like, and I've been saying it for weeks. I feel like every week I come on and go, how good was Daniel? Like every single week. And in some ways, I'm kind of pleased he maybe doesn't get the plaudits he should, but I'm getting more and more opposition guests coming on here going, Daniel's a different gravy. And I'm like, I know, shut up about it. Stop mentioning it. But I think he's outstanding. And today, I think it was one pass that he put on for Jack Clark when he just spun it. And I mean, the vision's just ridiculous, really. And he gives himself so much time and space because he's like 4 or 5 steps ahead of everyone else on the pitch. But Lee, we've waxed lyrical about Dan Neil. We're going to come at Jack Clark because, look, I don't know what more we can really say about him apart from he's mint. Is there any players that we haven't mentioned that you think deserve a bit of a shout out today? Because there's a lot of probably unsung heroes on that pitch today as well.
Yeah, yes, obviously he's been spoken about in the socials and stuff, but I think Leo Hielder's just settled in really, really well. Like, yeah, he's had a few shaky moments in his first 2 games, but he looks like he's been playing. He looks like he's been playing for Sunderland for years. He's just settled in and he's just dropped straight into the team. And he looks like he's been playing for us for years, and I've been really impressed with his first 2 games. And you can tell he's played for teams like Leeds and Celtic, because you have seen players come to Sunderland, and obviously Sunderland being a big club, it gets at them, but it just doesn't faze him playing for a club like this, and he gets it, which is all you want from a Sunderland player. But I think for a kid coming in, arguably his biggest move, I would say, I know Celtic to Leeds is a big move, but like as a first team regular, not like an academy player, he's just gone about his business in the right manner. He's just settled in straight away. Doesn't do anything daft, doesn't do anything rash. Yes, he might put a pass like goes 2 yards the other side and it goes out of play, but you expect that from any human beings at the end of the day. But I think he deserves a massive shout out because he's just settled in really, really well, and you can't really grumble against it.
You touched on about him like understanding before. I didn't see this, but actually noticed that when we were singing Wise Men Say, he kind of looked round and like sort of took it in and then applauded the fans, but like not in a kind of like, whoa, this is amazing, kind of like, oh, I fancy a bit of this. And I think he comes across that in his play. I thought he put some really nice balls in today. For technically what's meant to be a centre half, I thought he put some decent crosses in, but you've just mentioned someone in the chat here, Brad, that I really want to point out I thought was brilliant today. And I think if it wasn't for Jack Clark being an absolute cheat code at this level and Dan Neil being the best midfielder that anyone has ever seen, evidently, I think this guy would have got player of the match. I thought he was brilliant. Luke O'Nien, how good was he today? I thought he was just great. And I feel sometimes he doesn't, I honestly feel sometimes he doesn't always get the credit he deserves when he has a really good game. And I thought today he was exceptional.
He was excellent today. And I mean, his passing ability is brilliant. Long balls, short balls. And you can see why Mowbray persisted with him and Ballard, because he can bring the ball out better than any other centre-half in the club, without a shadow of a doubt. Because he learned his trade as a midfielder, and we have to remember that. But for me, he is an out-and-out centre-half now. Like, the way he's been performing, especially lately, he's in the top 3 or 4 every single game, without a doubt. there was one point in the first half, I think the power pull off a save and then the ball's in the box. And he knew he probably was going to get beaten if he went to jump up in the air for it. So he just body checked him. He put his body in the way and we've ultimately cleared it. And that's clever defending because 9 out of 10 centre halves would fancy themselves to go and win that in the air, maybe not head it over the bar or head it wide. He knew that there was it Hardy was a bigger player than him. And he's possibly going to lose an aerial duel 5 yards from the centre of the goal. He wasn't taking that chance, so he just used his body, and that's very intelligent. He's just brilliant. I mean, me and you have been big fans of O'Nien since halfway through the first season in League One, I think. And if people are going to slate him for poor performances, which we do as well, when he's had a dip, we've came out and said, there's a time maybe to have a little bit of a change. And I feel like people on the other side need to come out and give him a lot of credit when he has games like he has today, because he was brilliant.
And it's not his first really good game. Like, if you're sitting down to me and saying who've Sunderland's 5 best players been this year, he would come into my thought process. He would, because there's games like Leeds, Plymouth, there's tons of games I could pick out where he's been really good.
You know what it is as well? Lately, I don't know if it's just something that's been coached into him or what, he's cut out a lot of the little bits of bullshit. Getting into needless wrestling matches. He does it now and again, and sometimes it is clever defending, by the way. Because in the Championship, they haven't got use of VAR. It's the dark art, as people would say. It's happened for years. But he's cut out all this pantomime villain shit. I mean, which sometimes it's hilarious. I do love it sometimes. But when it becomes every single week, you sort of like, just focus on your football, son. Because you are a very able footballer. And now he's cut all that out. And I think giving him the armband has also helped him. It's sort of, he has to lead the team. And he can't be doing all this little kissing people or jumping on people's backs and shit like that from last season, which was hilarious, don't get me wrong. But he's shown to be a great leader, and giving him that captain's armband has probably stepped him up 5 or 10%, which for us is outstanding.
Yeah, I've got so much time for Gunnayan. And we're not like totally biased with him. I think there's plenty of times when we've said like, maybe try this, try the other. But for me, he always comes back and bounces back well. I can't argue with it. And today again, he was as outstanding as he can be in that position, and I quite like him at centre half. Something we haven't really touched on yet, Lee. And look, I'm not like saying like the last 3 weeks has changed things completely. I think there's probably still be question marks, but the last 2 weeks have been good. There's been a lot more positive than negative, and I mean that from the perspective of Michael Beale's tactical decisions, his substitutions, his post-match interviews, his pre-match interviews. There seems to have been some sort of shift today, and before I kind of ask you the question, Lee, I think I do want to obviously give a word for Michael Beale and his family. I think obviously acknowledge the support today, but I think I don't need to. I think in this one case, I speak for all Sunderland fans and definitely everyone on the podcast, but I think we want to send him love and strength to his family of what has happened. But on the pitch, I do feel there's been a bit of a shift with Beale as well. And I've been as critical as anyone. And I'm not going to be revisionist on that. And I'm not saying I've completely flipped on it. But the things I wanted to see, the things we wanted to see from him have happened the past 3 weeks. We said the Stoke game, I think it was me and Ross were speaking about it. We said that was great in isolation. We need more of that. And I think, okay, Borough wasn't perfect second half. Today wasn't perfect first half. But I think there's a lot of more positives that are coming out of the game since Stoke. And there seems to be a little bit more of a blueprint. How big have the past 3 weeks been for Michael Beale? Because the tide's really been against him, Lee. And I think there's valid reasons why, in terms of when he was appointed in the first weeks leading up to maybe that Stoke game. but nobody here wants Sunderland to lose so that guy could lose his job. I think everyone who's like myself thinks it's a bad appointment, hasn't been impressed with what he's brought to the club in the first few weeks. I want egg on my face because I want him to succeed because it means Sunderland succeed. And if Sunderland succeed, I'm a happy man. I don't care about being wrong. And these past 3 weeks have really turned something a little bit for me. How big have these past 3 weeks been for Michael Beale, and how much credit does he deserve for turning the wheel a little bit?
He deserves a huge amount of credit. Like, if you look back 2 weeks ago and you asked any supporter, do you think you'll get 7 points out or 9 out of Stoke at home, Middlesbrough away, and Plymouth at home? They would have laughed at you at the time because there was not a cat and hell's chance we're going to get it. However, as you said, everything we as fans, podcasters, whatever, have asked of him to do, he's done. He's shown that technical side that Christian Speakman spoke about so highly and when he was appointed. I think the main thing for him, though, and it's been said all season, is playing Dan Neil as the 6 and allowing Pierre Edouard to go into the 8. I think that's a massive technical adjustment to what he's done, because I think you're seeing the true Pierre Edouard when he's playing. And obviously, Dan Neil can play as a 6 and the 8 and the 10 and play anywhere across the midfield. But he's better suited to playing the 6. And I think when he's changed it, it's made us better as a team. And obviously today, like, if you look at it, that first half 2-3 weeks ago, we wouldn't have come out and played like that in the second half. Not a chance we would have. But it must be the players buying into what he's now actually saying, or he's just coming to the point, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. And the players are going, fair enough. And as you say, he deserves a huge amount of credit. Has the tide turned for me? Not yet. He still has a little bit of work to do, and he's got 2 massive games coming up this week with Huddersfield and Birmingham. And if he goes and gets 4 points out of them, you think if he gets 4 points and we're still in the playoffs this time next week, he's going to have to start getting praise. He's going to, people will turn, in me including, because I've given criticism. But as we said, it's been rightful criticism. But I think as Sunderland supporters, we're not daft. I'm not saying we're the most intelligent fan base around, but we can criticise people when we see people need criticising, but we're also willing to praise people who deserve to be praised. And I think you're seeing that from supporters towards Michael Beale at the present moment in time, because, as you say, he's doing everything right and it's coming up crumbs for him.
I think it just shows how easy it was for him to get stuff right in terms of like his media and stuff in the first few weeks. Like, I thought his interview today was absolutely class. I know there's an emotional aspect to it at the end, and I've really felt for him because you can see he's tearing up, and I'm not surprised. And I think it's a big strength of character for him to even get on that touchline today because of what's happening. But I think take that emotional question out at the end. His interview was really good. His interview last week was really good. His little jibe that Borough wasn't a derby was quite funny. Like, that sort of won me over, as pathetic as it is from my side. There's little things he's doing, and I'm not totally swung over yet either. No, I'm not. But do I want the cog to be turned towards Beale in and loving Michael Beale and Sunderland being successful? 100%. Like, someone today tweeting at us, or tweeting at me specifically, get it up here because we won. Fucking all right then. Get it right up me if Sunderland win. Do you know what I mean? Shove it as far up me shiter as you want. I'm not bothered. Like, if Sunderland win, I don't care. Like, but we do speak about the game and see what we see in prior to these 3 weeks. It wasn't good enough. These 3 weeks have been excellent. It's not fickleness. It's just saying what it is, isn't it?
I know. Yeah, it's just facts. It's sound like Rafa Benitez there. It's just it is. It's not us like go like. It is just realism that the last 3 weeks have been really, 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 really good. Like last week against Middlesbrough, and seeing the first half, we were really good, and I would say we deserved a point. The week before that against Stoke, we were really, really good, and we deserve 3 points, and we deserve 3 points today. And if he keeps that going, and he keeps that, as we've discussed it 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Stoke win had to be a start, and he's continued on by picking up a very good point away from home against a very good Middlesbrough side, then going beating the team at home you expect to beat. Now
And well,
He's got Huddersfield away and Birmingham away. And if he goes and picks 4 points out of there, like people like would magically expect him to do, then everything's fine. As I say, as fans, we like fans are quick to criticise people, but the ultimate thing is we want Sunderland Football Club to succeed, and if that means Michael Beale succeeds, champion. It's
even if he's got a
champion.
Cockney accent.
Even if he has got a Cockney accent, it's just it's football. It's football in it.
Yeah.
When it's gone and shite, people get on people's back. When it's gone and mint this, they hail him as a king. That's just football. It's just the football. It's the way it goes.
The only way for any podcast, be it us, Wiseman say, whoever it may be, to be consistently right or consistently not wrong, should I say, on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a yearly basis, is just not to record a podcast or have any opinions. Ultimately, I couldn't care less whether I'm right, you're right, wrong, 100% right, 100% wrong. If Sunderland are winning, just fire me the Jack Daniels, load it up, and I'll enjoy my weekend. And that's all I want to do. But we've got about 7-ish minutes left here, and we got loads of listener questions in. So let's just go for it. The first one, I'm liking me dafty ones, so let's go for a dafty one. Brad, if he wasn't a footballer, what job would Dan Neil have?
Working the back shift at Nissan
Do you reckon?
from Sunderland. It's a good bet that someone around the area is going to be working there, or one of the suppliers. Lee.
I think you'd work in a crisp factory. Don't know why.
So, yeah.
I just do.
That one closed in Peterlee, didn't it? So you'd have to travel quite far.
I think he'd move. I think he'd do it. I'll give the next one to you, Lee. Let's have a look what we got. Right. I like this question because I think it throws up a lot of good memories, so I'm going to ask it. Where do we rank Jack Clarke as a Sunderland left winger? Is he the best we've had there? For me, it would always be Alan Johnson because growing up, I thought he was terrific, but there's loads of really good answers in there. And I think, Jack Clarke could potentially be in that conversation, especially for the younger generation. But where does he lie for you, Lee, at the moment?
He's been slowly creeping his way up my list all season, but I think after today in Stoke and Middlesbrough, I would say he's the best, in my opinion, the best left winger we've had. I agree with your point about Alan Johnston. However, Jack Clarke hasn't got Quinn and Phillips in the penalty box to aim for. So he's having to do everything, the majority of himself. And he's winning games by himself, which is something Alan Johnston never did. But in my opinion, I would say he's up there as being the best left winger I've ever seen play for Sun. In my opinion, anyway.
Julio?
I don't know. I think with Julio, he still didn't produce the amount of stuff that Jack Clarke is.
Could say he played at a higher level. There is that argument, I guess.
You could.
Kevin Kilban obviously was a fantastic left winger.
Oh, Kevin Kilban.
You just had to be there, didn't you? I'll give the next one to you, Brad. Who are our three most valuable players, and realistically, what's their market value?
Jack Clarke.
Mm-hmm.
That's a given, and I would say nothing less than 25 million currently. Dan Neil, the same. If Alex Scott's going for whatever he went for, Dan Neil's got to be that at a minimum, and probably is more in sell-on add-ons and shit like that. And probably Dan Ballard, but I would counter the Dan Ballard one. If Luke O'Nien was 4 years younger, I'd put him in that category because I think a lot of people would be looking at him as well. But I think we Ballard around 20 million. Clarke and Dan Neil 25 million at a minimum.
I'd agree, probably. I think the valuations is what I'd want as well, but I don't think we'd get. But I agree as
If
well.
if Trey Hume continues at the rate he's going, I'd arguably say he's more of an asset than Dan Ballard is, purely because of Dan Ballard's injury record over the last couple of seasons. I think a lot of people are starting to pay attention to Trey Hume. I think, was it the BBC podcast that Simon Pride and Nick Barnes done the other day? They had this conversation with Frankie about, I think Trey Hume could be one of our most valuable assets as well.
Mm.
And I've thought about that, and I think how many out and out solid right backs are around these days who are just right backs, pure right backs. Usually you look at wing backs or a right centre half for how people set up. He is just an old school out and out right back that loves a tackle and can get forward when he needs to. Like I see elements of maybe not at the same level, but like how Gary Neville used to play. I think
Yeah.
he's that good.
No, I get what you mean with that. He's a right back, not a right wing back. Like he's a right back, but I think he's also really versatile. I actually don't mind him that much in a back three. I think he's actually quite good in the air and stuff like that as well. There was one more, but I suppose it's a slight negative, so I'm not going to do that because it was positive. So we'll go the good, the bad, and the I'll give you mine all in one. The good whole second half response to the first 45. I thought exactly what I want to see from Sunderland. And just, yeah, makes me feel really happy. The bad, there's not much, but like if I'm going to pick one out, I thought Pato was a bit dodgy today. I thought he could have done better with the goal. He made a bit of a mistake second half, but like I'm really like splitting hairs. The is the next two games. I think they're really huge in the context of Sunderland's season and probably Michael Beale's time at Sunderland, because if he can get like a 4 points out of that, that's huge. And I think then the wheel really will start to turn. I'll ask you, Lee, what's your good, the bad, and the We've got about a minute left, so let's go for it.
Good. Dan Neil, fantastic. He's your modern day deep line playmaker. The bad, the inconsistently shite referees that we constantly get. Because I thought the referee was shit today. And the I don't know if I have another one.
You don't have to have one.
I can't really think of it.
Should your be? I can't think of a
As I can't think of it.
Brad, what's yours before we go?
Good. The fans for Michael Beale.
Yeah.
That was excellent. The bad, I don't want to see Abdullah Bar playing in the 10. I think he's better when he's wide or he's up playing the 2 up front. And the is former Sunderland players playing at right back. And being rinsed by Jack Clark. Let's just hope that Tony Mowbray puts Alex Pritchard right back next weekend and we'll see another masterclass.